Welcome.
Stupid thing. Okay, let's get it. Oh, man! What the? Yeah! Sweet.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the WiBit.net podcast, recorded live from WiBit.net headquarters on September 22nd, 2011. In this episode, Jason, Gary, Bryan, and Kevin will talk about iOS apps. You wanted them? You got them. Introduction to Computer Programming is available on the App Store right now. Also, the Tic Tac Toe app has undergone a facelift. The new AI algorithm has been applied. And Bryan has a cool story about the setbacks in submitting it to the App Store. Is Facebook getting too nosy? Is this an opportunity for Google to make up some ground? And what about Google? Are they on the verge of telling users what to think? Jason and Bryan will debate. Also, Netflix? Is this going to be the most recent example of the here one day, gone the next business practice? What is the future of mainstream online streaming media? All this and a lot more coming up on the WiBit.net podcast. For more content, you could find us on iTunes, WiBit.podomatic.com, Facebook.com/WiBit, and of course, WiBit.net.
Welcome to the WiBit.net podcast. We're recording live tonight from the underground WiBit.net bunker headquarters
In Stockholm, England.
Yes,
Figure that out. Figure that out, audience. Where is that?
It doesn't exist. It's a mirage. Well, today on the podcast, guys, we have a lot of exciting stories to talk about. First of which, we want to talk about, Bryan, you just submitted the Introduction to Programming app to the Apple App Store.
Yeah, I think there's another maybe 5 days in their review time period that it usually takes. But hopefully they'll approve it, and as soon as they approve it, it'll be up and available, and we'll let you guys know. But, I'm pretty excited to start using it on devices and stuff and carrying it around. And
I can't wait.
It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of looking at that video on the front page. I want to actually have that in my hands and play with it and stuff.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really
cool.
That's
right around the corner.
Yeah, so that's coming up. We also had, and I'm sure some of you guys saw a blog that I posted recently about the Tic Tac Toe AI. We had, we've had a fair amount of people interested in talking about the subject, but nobody actually submitted any code. So what I wanted to... Bad Wibbiters. Bad Wibbiters. So what I wanted to kind of do was just put out there an algorithm. It's not a really good one, but it's a basic AI algorithm for tic-tac-toe. It's a basic algorithm for tic-tac-toe just so that you guys can see what one looks like. So if you want to kind of take that and run with it, make it better. And another fun thing about that, though, is after we packaged this thing up, we wrote the blog and everything, it was handed over to Bryan to update or to submit to the store. What happened?
So I submitted it to the App Store. I got a notification today that it was rejected, which is kind of fun.
Rejected?
Yeah. So Big Brother was not so happy with our app submission.
I don't think they were happy that you put all those pictures of naked ladies instead of the X's and the O's.
So their complaint was that in the description, we tried to say that we know that Tic-Tac-Toe is not the craziest, coolest game out there, and you're just like dying for a great Tic-Tac-Toe app, and finally one's out there. Obviously,
and anyone who does think that is out there, damn
I know,
honestly, my daughter, my 4-year-old, loves the Tic-Tac-Toe.
Nice.
She'll play with her grandmother all the time.
That's awesome.
They'll sit there and play it. So
cool.
for the kids, it actually is like the coolest thing ever.
But so we made some
So wait, so
improvements.
you're saying we should increase the price to like $60?
Yeah, and add a little top hat or something to the frog.
Yeah, nice.
Make them say cute
Hello, my
things.
baby. Hello, my...
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? So in our description, we tried to explain that this app is if you followed the course and, you kind of built it, and you just sort of want to like buy it to kind of support the site
And
put
say
it on your
thank
app.
you for all the hard work you put into it.
just kind of for the fun of it.
I had to sit next to this jackass for like 3 straight months smelling them and just give me a damn dollar for that.
So in the description, we said it's kind of like a donation app. But apparently it violates their policy to have a donation app that's not free.
Yeah,
even though it's not actually a donation app, you know. So we took the word donation out of the description and are resubmitting it. So it'll be another week or so, you know.
It's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. It's very annoying.
That's
does it make sense? How could a donation app not be for you have to pay?
How could it?
No, because it has to be inside the application is where you do
you do the donation?
The app
Okay.
itself, Apple can't be taking a cut of a donation. That's basically the problem.
I see.
But that's.
But what's
that
interesting
kinda makes
is
sense. That kind of
I don't know.
But what's interesting is Apple approved the first release, which
Yes!
is still on the App Store. So right now, Apple is kind of breaking the law. Anyway,
Take that, Apple.
Yeah,
Take
right.
that, Steve Jobs, or
whoever.
whoever that goes.
Apothecary?
Tim Cook. Tim Cook. Yeah, there he
It's
is.
not Apothecary? Oh, wait, no, he's on the failed company with the tablet. It's HP. Never mind. Moving on.
Oh yeah. Well, we have an HP thing coming up, I think. But I think Jason, you also.
but yeah, so speaking of like Big Brother
Yeah,
rejecting
right.
apps and taking too much control, Facebook has some stuff in the news that they've been up to.
Yeah,
Yes.
they had the new layout that everybody seemed to just absolutely hate. And today they had their FA conference, which they demoed a lot of pretty neat stuff technically. You know, the technical stuff's kind of overshadowed by what all these advancements mean to, I don't know, our society. You know,
Right. Yeah.
Facebook has now decided that instead of having like your feed where just whatever anybody says comes up in chronological order, they're dictating what they think is important to you socially and showing that in order. So even though it's not chronological anymore, it's like what do they think would be important to you since the last time you signed in? That's
Weird.
first, and then next
How
is
does it
like
determine that?
exactly how does it determine that A and B?
Based on what you click on and what you look at?
Yeah, the people's profiles that you view. What kind of posts do you generally look at? Do you look at videos more often than photos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
That sucks.
I don't know the whole algorithm, which why technically that's kind of cool, but socially, like, what does that mean for society? It's very Orwellian because now they're limiting thought. They're telling you what's important to you socially and not letting you make up your own mind.
You know what this reminds me of? Is when you're in a relationship and over a course of time, the girl starts saying like, "You're just like not the same anymore. I feel like you've changed. Like, what's happened to you? You're so different, you know?" But sometimes people change and you have to like allow them to change. Well, Facebook's kind of like that uncompromising girlfriend that has like an envisionment of you stuck on their head. And if your interests change, well then you're going to have a conflict.
And just like that uncompromising girlfriend, they're complete hypocrites because they change without any warning.
Yeah, right.
And then what do you mean we changed? We were always like
I've always been like this.
This is what
I've
you want.
always looked Dane Cook, and I've always liked Neil Diamond. Oh yeah,
Yeah. So,
What, Dane Cook?
I don't know.
well, it just seems like, I mean, well, they also have a lot of other cool advancements, like, you know, they're integrating with services now. If you have a web app that, you know, a Facebook app that you've built, they've gotten rid of a lot of that, like, you know, authorized to push notifications, which kind of makes sense why they moved that the steady stream of information to the right side, because now any app, like any game you play, all those, like, you know, do you want to tell all your friends you just harvested 10 gold in Mafia Wars or whatever the heck it is? Now everything automatically just posts to your profile without any warning, or it's all seamless. So your feed, if everything just came in order, you would be bombarded with a bunch of
So that
useless crap.
stream is just like all over.
It's all over the place.
They're just streaming it on everything.
Yeah, but what's cool about it is where you have
It's gonna
services.
be like Fox News with like the tickers all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
kinda.
like Bryan is whacking off the midget porn right now. They'll be coming across the bottom of my
Again.
screen. Yeah, again, for the third time today.
That's true. Like your feed will get bombarded for people like you that have a lot of friends, but for people like Kevin that only has 2 friends, it's really just going to be like, you know,
And the
one
other
or two things an hour.
the other 2 profiles are profiles I made for myself to make it look like I have more friends.
So
I
if,
get it.
if
I get
Kevin
it.
1 has a girlfriend. Kevin 2 is complicated.
so if you didn't get enough Farmville posts, now they don't have to approve the ones that go out. So now you just automatically get like everybody's Farmville post as they
Right,
happen.
but they're
automatically.
only up in that right-hand corner, unless you tend to like when
This is
somebody
gonna
posts
get like
that.
white noise, you know.
Kind of, but when it gets cool is where they've integrated with services like Hulu and Netflix and Spotify, where Spotify, if I have Spotify and you have Spotify and I'm listening to a song and it'll automatically show up in that stream, and then when you hover your mouse over that event, it'll start playing that song in your browser. That's kind of cool from a sharing perspective.
But you'll probably not want to listen to what I listen to.
But
No,
then I wouldn't.
Your music is horrible, Bryan.
I don't want to listen to the Beaches soundtrack. You're right. Funny you mentioned that in the FA conference when Zuckerberg was demoing this. The friend he was demoing it with, all their stuff was Kenny G. So the only funny thing he said in the conference was like, dude, we got to talk about this after the conference.
That's awesome.
It's all Kenny G.
Well, and what else are the Apple employees going to do? Like, if they never reject any apps, the Apple employers are like, why are you even here? You're just approving everything. I don't even know how you pay you. So I think they just have to.
What are you doing here?
Yeah. We might as well just automate this.
They probably have a quota.
Probably,
They
yeah.
probably have some kind of quota that they have to hit.
Yeah. Or else they get lashed.
Oh, God. Anyways,
Yeah,
Jason, you were talking.
I mean, it's just it's kind of Orwellian and the newspeak kind of vein, limiting thought by telling you what to think, kind of thing. And that's dangerous because there's always the point of, oh, geez, I'm so sorry you're inconvenienced by a service that's for free. But at the same time, it is immensely popular. It has 8 million people there. There has to be some kind of level of responsibility to say you have an influence over these 8 million people, whether it's free or not, whether they have the choice to leave or not. You do have that influence. You own it, and what are you doing with it?
Well,
And the fact that another fun fact for all this that I didn't know until yesterday, the director of the CIA and FBI have been seen just walking around Facebook campus. Just like, oh, I'm popping into a meeting. Just like, hey, I was in the area, so I decided to pop in. So we now have a company that offers a free service that's telling you what your social thing means to you with our spy agencies walking around in there like it's their bedroom. Or it's like it's a living room. That's dangerous.
Now, the direction of the internet is something that I don't like. And one of the things that I don't like is like PageRank, for example, from Google. When I was a kid and you'd go to a library, you had the Dewey Decimal System, which doesn't really care which book is what. It's just alphabetized. And then books are just in their position, and that's that. So when you're a kid, one of the things that was awesome was walking around the library, exploring the different aisles of books, and looking at the different kind of book titles and seeing what you might want or what you might not want. That's how a library worked, and it was very explorative, and that's kind of how the early stages of the internet was.
Yeah.
But as bookstores started replacing libraries because they sold coffee there, basically, they wanted to increase sales. So they started taking their popular books and moving it to the aisle end caps. As that happened...
Or just the books that they want you to think
yeah,
are popular.
Right. Exactly. Or just whatever they think is going to make the most revenue, And so as that happens, more people don't explore the books and they just buy the popular books, which makes them even hyper-populated. Then you have even less popular books and it's just a narrow focus. And now, today, when I go into Borders doesn't even exist anymore, probably kind of partially for that reason, I think, not as much Amazon. But if you go to Barnes & Noble now, there's like... I don't know, some lady who had sex with Tupac wrote an autobiography and she's like on the end cap. I don't know. Like, it's just like weird, trashy crap. And it's not like...
did have a
it's
book
not
that
like,
was a bestseller.
But they're not like the great books anymore. Do you know what I mean? Or they're like some of the crap classics that everybody's read. Like, like Animal Farm's on the end cap again, whatever. But
I like the Orwell theme. Well done.
but even when you explore, like the books that I know exist, that I'm like, oh, I always wanted to read that book. I'll see if they have it. We can order it for you. I'll just order it on Amazon. This is retarded. Yeah. But they have 50 million copies of Harry Potter. And it sucks. And PageRank does that exactly. And you'd say, like, well, if I type in Amazon, I don't want the Amazon River. I want Amazon.com. If I want to say order books, I want Amazon.com to come up. But do you? Is it fair to do that because it's popular? It completely ruins your ability to explore the internet. So now that Amazon is the popular online books thing, nothing's going to ever come close. Because the momentum and the atmosphere that you have to break out of to try to approach getting that type of ranking is just insane.
Yeah, but to be kind of fair to that, you have a global network to filter through. So if you just put everything in alphabetical order, according
it doesn't have to be alphabetized necessarily.
It doesn't have to be but what's a better system? I mean, like, you have to do something to filter through the sheer magnitude of content. It's so huge. It's the entire wealth of human knowledge is available through the internet. So how do you catalog that in any more efficient way than having some kind of PageRank system? And Google isn't.
But PageRank in particular is based on how many other links refer to that page. So I think there is ways to say that this page is quality. A lot of people spend time on these pages, but to just simply rank them by their popularity, I'm not sure. I don't know the answer.
I don't know.
I don't like the direction, and that's why. And that's why Blockbuster failed and Netflix was survived, because I wanted to watch a Marx Brothers movie. I walked into Blockbuster and they had no Marx Brothers movies. They tried to call other stores. No other stores in the area had a Marx Brothers movie, but there was a store in Indiana that had one. The one that I was looking for, Duck Soup. And then I looked on Netflix, and Netflix was like, "Oh yeah, we'll send it to your house tomorrow." So it was a no-brainer. I signed up for Netflix because I didn't want to watch the new popular releases that Blockbuster had. I wanted to see an old Marx Brothers movie.
But that kind of properly identifies the problem that I'm raising, where Blockbuster, a brick-and-mortar store, has finite resources and finite space to fill.
Yes.
The internet has infinite.
Yes.
So Netflix has, if they run out of space in one warehouse that's the size of 5 football fields,
Then the question
they'll buy another warehouse that
should a
is
search engine index everything? Maybe Yahoo's original model wasn't that bad. Maybe a search engine's goal should not be to index the entire universe.
Well, then you're going to be leaving people out by just them not knowing something.
Well, I don't know. So this is kind of a difficult question. I mean,
Like maybe it
because
should be an entry point
you
to a
are
site.
removing the convenience factor of search engines. I mean, for example, you write a lot of mobile stuff, right? When you go into Google and you type, I want to manipulate this view item with this, you typically, well, not always, but you'll typically find higher ranked solutions, right? So like you only have to go through like 1 to 3 pages to find that solution. But if you were looking for all iOS documentation that was no ranking whatsoever, that would just be a goddamn mess.
Here's my counter argument for that. I have better luck simply searching Stack Overflow than I do searching Google, because Google usually just gives me the Stack Overflow results. But now that Stack Overflow has become more of a trusted resource, I just search Stack Overflow and it's awesome. And that's where Google always takes me anyway.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I always end up going to Stack Overflow too, but I always get to it through Google.
Why bother?
But I think that might be because of that thought control.
It is.
Because
exactly.
I'm so
They're
ingrained into Google.
exactly.
My phone is
Yes.
Android. My email is Gmail. My calendar is
not
Google
good.
Calendar. I use Google Reader.
So maybe
Everything.
Google should only direct you to Stack Overflow and not actually aggregate all the content of Stack Overflow as well.
I don't know. I think,
Or maybe
this
Google.
seems
I'm
like
not
it's
saying Google's wrong, but I'm saying maybe there should be a different service altogether that provides that option differently.
I wonder if that's more on the user though, because like I'm stuck in a bad habit of going to Google first and then ending up at Stack Overflow.
There's no site that I can search to find sites. There's only searching to find results in a page. I want a search that gives me sites. Like Amazon.com can only be one result.
The view, I think
that's not a bad idea.
Maybe, but then if you do find a hit on a Google search and the content seems interesting, you always have the option of sticking to that site and viewing that site. And
but now you have
to
memorize all the sites that you're interested in.
Well, that's why I have bookmarks, Brian. Like the old 1995 creative bookmark.
I'm just saying.
So
anyway,
we also
for code, I think there is a site like what you're talking about. I'll look it up and I'll post it as a link.
This is a discussion that I don't think we're going to win.
But it does bring into the idea of Blockbuster and Netflix and their differences as well. Also, because this same problem that I'm talking about exists not just on the internet. Obviously, it exists in a lot of different ways. And so now Netflix was the solution, right?
To the problem of the finite resources.
Right. So then Netflix started kind of like rolling back over, where they couldn't justify the profit per product to be able to pay to stream all of the content that they wanted to stream. Because somebody produces content. Somebody has to make money on content. It's just that simple, otherwise it won't be produced. Yeah. So Netflix their like streaming now stuff really sucked. I mean, like I don't often get to stream the movies I want on Netflix. And so it wasn't that profitable. It started eating into the cost of, the video getting sent out. So Netflix made this horrible idea now to separate the service into two completely different companies,
Yeah, they solved the one problem, but like you said, now the content distributors want their cut of what Netflix saw to be the future 5 years ago, and they were right. But now Netflix has the problem of they kind of have to change again to adhere to what the public wants. They want more content. They don't want it just to exist, which is what was good enough for a while. So Netflix has taken a page from the HP playbook on how to kill a company in 6 months.
Or less.
Or less. By doing ridiculous changes.
Well, and here's the thing with companies
that nobody believes in.
Yeah. No,
companies nowadays, and this is something that Facebook should understand. This is something that a lot of companies should understand, even Google. Companies can disappear in a minute.
Yeah. If they do.
They do often. It happens. It happens all the time.
My guess is that Netflix is being affected by the arrangement they made with Postal Service, because half the reason they became so successful is they negotiated great rates.
Right.
Postal Service has been losing their shirt on it, and that contract may be up, and that's why they have to change it. I don't know for sure, but
interesting.
That's probably what's driving the price increase, because they can't afford to actually ship all those things out the way they're doing it, the way the contract is written.
And have you
maybe
ship
that
them
contract,
back
maybe the contract's over and now they're getting hit with that extra revenue.
Well, the Postal Service contract hasn't been mentioned, but the Starz contract has been mentioned in great detail. They had a deal with Starz, the movie channel, to stream their content. And they paid, I don't know, $10 million for the original deal, and that deal was up this year, so they went back to Starz and said, we'll give you $300 million to keep this deal alive. And Starz said that's not good enough. $300 million plus we want to dictate the price per video. So people will still have to pay extra to stream Starz content. Netflix is like, that ruins our whole business model. We can't do that.
Right.
So Netflix is getting brushed back from everybody. And so they had to, first of all, increase the price. So, and I totally understand, but they didn't communicate it very well with everybody as to why they needed to increase the price and whatever. And then to schism this thing to say, like, okay, this is the future Netflix, and then if you still want your old school DVDs with Quickster, which, sidebar, the Twitter account at Quickster already existed. This is a cautionary tale of do your research before you pick a name. It's like a 15-year-old pothead gangsta kid. Right? So all of his posts are like, I woke up and I blazed and now I'm heading to school, yo. Like, that's all of his posts. So the guy had like 10 followers, then Netflix announced, and he went up to like 12,000 followers because everybody thought that was going to be the official like feed of Quickster. And it's just this pothead kid.
Nice.
So, and your point about Facebook's absolutely right. I mean, everybody hated that change, and we hate it for our reasons, but a lot of people hated it for aesthetic reasons. And Facebook's just taken the avenue of, we don't care, we know what you want, we're going to do what we want, you're going to keep coming back because we're Facebook.
Another thing that I noticed, that I don't want to go too far into this, but I've noticed an interesting thing where there's people that I know who were interested in using Hulu and started using Hulu to watch a couple shows that they liked, and they wanted to watch them online. For the most part, all of those people, for some reason or another, have stopped watching Hulu and started torrenting the TV shows, which they haven't historically been torrent users.
Right.
Which I find really interesting, and I think, and I don't usually watch Hulu, but from what I'm guessing, Hulu's not streaming as much content as they were, and I haven't really heard much buzz about Hulu. I haven't heard much of it in the news. I haven't heard a lot of people using it.
They're trying to sell themselves.
I don't know what the deal is, but I don't think it's looking very promising.
Well, but see, I think that's a good point, though, because if you make things too difficult for your users, I mean, there's always a bailout.
And now the expectation is that people feel like they were getting the TV shows for free from Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of felt like it, even though there was ads. So now the moral imperative to not steal is getting really fuzzy because it doesn't feel so much different to just torrent the episode.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting you mentioned that. I recently bought an album on iTunes, and this is really dumb. Actually, Bryan, I think I talked to you about this before. I bought it on my phone, and I was downloading it while I was driving, and halfway through my drive, I was going to listen to it. My phone ended up blanking out while I was downloading this album.
Bricked.
Yeah, just done. So I had to let the battery die over the course of like a day or so, and I fired it back up, and I went out, and I saw that I had downloaded 2 songs from the album before my phone blew up. So on my phone, I went to iTunes to buy the album again, and it let me download the songs that I had not downloaded, but it made me pay again to get the ones that I downloaded before.
Which it lost because you had to restore your phone.
So then my thought process is, this is such a damn headache. Why don't I just steal this?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I didn't, for any FBI agents out there, but it's to make content difficult to obtain is what drives people to pirate.
Yes.
You know, if giving people a fair priced model for content. I mean, nobody wants to pay a lot of money for content. Like, we like to be entertained, but we don't want to pay for it. So, you know, the business model of trying to charge us up the asshole for content is not going to work.
Well, up until industrialization, entertainers were like the lowest form of.
You're absolutely right.
They didn't get paid anything.
Like Shakespeare was like a piece of crap.
Yeah, I think the first like rock star was Guy Farinelli. He was a castrati in France in like the mid 1600s, but he was rare. I mean, there was always the kings or the monarchs' pet entertainers that were kind of rock star status, but they didn't get paid a lot of money.
Right.
And entertainers on the street were exactly. They weren't
another thing about that
at all.
That's a really good point.
When we were kids, right? I mean, we're all roughly the same age. When we were kids, our parents gave us a 10 and said, go to the movies and have a good night, okay? Now I go to the movies, that's like $60, easy. If I take me and my wife to the movies, if we get a popcorn, we get a soda. So it's my motivation to actually pay for that content is completely gone.
When a huge TV screen is like $300.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, well, I could go to the movies like 50 times, or I could just buy a movie theater.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting how all that's panning out and how that's turning out.
But I love going to the movie theater. I mean, the experience of sitting in a dark room with a lot of people.
I don't. I mean, I would if it didn't cost so damn much.
And I love the IMAX and the 3D. I can't help myself.
Well, then you're starting to talk like $100 to get.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm still impressed with the talkies.
There's sound? Holy crap. Why is it moving?
Now, I would like if they had like old school, authentic silent theaters opening up, where you can go watch a silent film where there's like a piano
They're
player.
playing a piano.
Pulp Fiction in silence.
Yeah, that would be so funny. Yeah.
With the captions.
Yeah.
Funny Easter egg. I'll post the link on the podcast page, but there's a new lorem ipsum generator. And for those of you that don't know, lorem ipsum is something that just generates dummy text for you to put in to see what text would look like on the page.
So what's different?
It's a Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, man.
So you tell it how many paragraphs, and it'll pull phrases from movies
That's
and put
genius.
them as the paragraphs.
That's cool.
That's
and you
great.
can get it in clean, so it's ones with no cursing and ones with cursing. And
Yeah, why would you get it clean? Why even bother?
Yeah.
well, there's some good ones in the clean.
That's-
too. Like
yeah.
the whole
Well-
biblical bit. That's all.
Do we have any more WiBit news? Is there anything going on with like the forums or with the user base?
Java's still coming.
Java's
Still on its
coming.
way.
Java is coming.
We're recording the Android tutorial right now.
Yes, yeah, and that'll be coming up pretty soon.
For those of you that don't know, little Easter egg on the site: if you put in the Konami code and hit either Enter, Spacebar, or Tab, you're going to get a different surprise. So that's up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, Enter. Enter that on the site. See what happens.
I mean, people know.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
like
so-
that's like the Mortal Kombat blood code. If you don't know that, you don't deserve to live.
Enter the code.
ABACABB. You
Either use
Oh,
Enter or
suck, you
Spacebar or
silly.
Tab. Each of those as the end part produces a different result. So have fun with that.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up. What is it? Episode 7? Is that where we are?
Something like that. I don't know.
All right. Well.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for supporting WiBit.net. For more content, please check us out on iTunes, wibbit.podomatic.com, facebook.com/wibbit, and wibbit.net, WIBIT.net.